Steve Tharinger, representative from the 24th Legislative District. It's good to have an opportunity to talk to you this session.
And I'm Kevin Wege, state representative also from the 24th Legislative District, the beautiful Olympic Peninsula.
Let's talk about state parks. Last year, both of you supported legislation to create a new user fee system to fund the parks. Can you give a little background about that bill and what has happened since it went into effect?
So that was the Discover Pass, and general fund dollars that used to go to state parks we had to use for other things like education and health and human services. So we created the Discover Pass to keep all our state parks open last year.
And when we rolled it out, as folks know, there were some problems. One of the issues was the transferability between different vehicles, and it was just one license plate, one pass, and we've worked on a bill that gives the pass flexibility so we can have two automobiles on the same pass. And I think that'll hopefully help folks so you can basically have a family pass.
Besides the transferability issue, what are some other proposed changes that would come with this legislation?
Well, one of the things we're working on is people who rent group facilities for weddings or picnics or something like that. It's really problematic if you have a big wedding party for each person to have a pass. So if you're renting the facility, you would be able to allow everyone that's participating in that event to use the park. And I think that's a good customer-friendly change.
Right, and the other piece that legislation does would cap the Discover Pass at $30, with the exception of the Wild system. But everywhere you'd buy the Discover Pass or be eligible to buy the Discover Pass, you'd only pay $30. The Wild system is a separate system, mostly around the Department of Fish and Wildlife, providing fishing and hunting licenses. They've always had user fees, and so there would still need to be a user fee if you bought a Discover Pass through there. But not very many passes are sold through that system, but everywhere else would be $30. So I think what we're gearing towards is customer service in that legislation.
Yeah, and as Kevin mentioned, I mean, this is really a challenge. A lot of states around the union are just shutting parks or privatizing them and getting rid of them and closing them up, and we really don't want to have that to happen. So we're trying to figure out some way to bring some revenue streams into the park department so that state parks, so we can keep them open.
As you said, this is really about keeping parks open. There are a lot of state parks in the 24th District. Can you talk about some of them and why they're important to your district?
Well, we have Squim Bay up where we live, and Bogashiel out in Forks.
And down south, Lake Sylvia, Schaefer State Park are two popular parks, beautiful, gorgeous parks in Grace Harbor.
And then there's some up around Port Townsend, there's Fort Worden, Fort Flagler. So we draw a lot of folks to the Olympic Peninsula to visit our state parks, and we need to keep them open.
Absolutely.
Shifting topics now, I'd like to talk to you both briefly about a proposal in the legislature to increase DUI penalties. You are both co-sponsoring a bill to this effect, and apparently there have been some tragic deaths in your district due to drunk driving.
Correct. There have been some very, very tragic incidents, and what we hope to do with this legislation is really increase the penalties for people that are driving intoxicated and kill somebody else in a vehicular accident.
And there's a lot of things this session. This is obviously, I think, the right thing to do. There's been a lot of families that have been impacted by drunk driving up in our area, but we're running into the fiscal sort of complication here because as we raise the sentences, there won't be an impact on local court systems, but the incarceration piece, putting people in prison for these offenses, which I think we should do to keep our community safe, has a cost, and everything that has a cost these days is really challenging with our revenue picture.
So what's the next step for this bill?
Well, it just got voted out of the House Committee, which Steve and I helped make happen, and now it's going to move on to the Ways and Means Committee, and we'll be there working that bill and making sure it gets a hearing, and hopefully we can get it out and be part of the budget picture that we have to eventually pass.
Lastly, are you planning any town halls in your district during this session?
Actually, we have a town hall tonight in Montesano.
February 1st. And then February 17th, there's town halls in Quilcene at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and Port Angeles at 7 o'clock in the evening.
So come out and tell us what you want us to hear about this session in the 24th Legislative District.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.